Fucking Review Show, the show where three assholes watch a movie and give you their opinion about it. I'm your host, Danny DeVito's slightly salted pubic hair.
And I'm John Bon Jovi.
I totally fucked it up.
I'm Paul Atreides, the secret of the spice.
God damn it. It wasn't funny the third time.
It's not supposed to be funny.
No, it was great the
Listen,
third time.
if anyone's listening out there and they're a true fan of the geekdom, they know who exactly I'm talking about.
Listen, if you're out there and
You
you're
know.
watching Dune, starring the dude from Twin Peaks, it's time to go see some sun.
While
Take a
we are
brisk
over
walk.
here watching A Quiet Place, Part 2.
Part 2,
Part
Part
two.
two.
which we literally just came from the movie theater to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just came from the movie theater to see
It's
it.
classic because I haven't been in the movie theater in like 5 fucking years.
Yeah, it's been a long time, dude.
Or it's
Yeah,
felt
no.
like 5 fucking years, but it's really been like a year and a fucking half.
Speak for yourself. I've been to the movie theater for the last 4 fucking months. So yeah, if you haven't gone to your local AMC, support that shit. Well, not AMC, but just your local theater in general.
Yeah, whatever's out there.
whatever's
you
out
see
there.
a theater, you fucking go.
Go to it.
You fuck-
I don't give a shit if you're watching some
stop.
shitty.
You're
Theater
driving
or
a
die,
fucking
motherfucker.
You're driving a fucking Dairy Queen or some shit. No. You see the movie theater, you're saying, no, fuck this, honey. We are stopping. We are going to the movie theaters, and we're gonna go see A Quiet Place Part 2.
We're gonna support the industry because movies are magic.
Yes, and you will support this movie because it was fucking amazing. Am I right, gents?
Yeah, I love the aggression in the room right now.
Yeah, so fucking aggressive.
Yeah.
We are on an aggression kick right now, and I'm
Mom,
loving it.
Bring me my testosterone. Anyways.
Anyway, Quiet Place 2,
Yeah.
the sequel to A Quiet Place, directed by John Krasinski, written by John Krasinski,
Yeah.
acted by John Krasinski. He plays all the
Acted.
characters.
He
By the
plays
way.
all
he plays
single
everybody.
characters.
It's just him and Michael Bay.
Listen, thoughts?
I love the movie. I feel like I've said that a lot today. It's a great film, and it followed up the first one perfectly, which is something that we've also talked about, it being a great sequel. It picks up basically right where the first film left off. Actually, that's a lie. It doesn't pick up immediately after the first film. There is a brief, throwback to day one of the
Invasion.
the incident,
call
whatever
it.
you want to
Yeah.
call it. And then it picks up right where the first movie left off. And in doing so, we get to see the same great characters that we fell in love with in the first movie. They haven't had a lot of time to finish dealing with what just happened. I mean, fucking Emily Blunt had a baby in the last movie, and then she's like shotgun wielding and then hiking and shit and walking into flooded buildings that are also on fire. It's just,
She is woman. Hear her roar for sure.
yeah, that's
Absolutely.
she's a powerhouse
Fucking
in that
badass,
movie.
yeah.
But so is everyone else. Cillian Murphy, John Krasinski, the little fucking kids. I don't know their names. But they all did a great job too. Little ruffle their hair. Way to
They
go,
did, yeah.
Slugger.
Yeah, I thought the movie was amazing. I thought the acting was great. Definitely a good follow up. One of those where a sequel. I think a thing about a good sequel is that it feels different from the first. In a good way. It doesn't have to totally rely on what came before. It just kind of goes with its own story and its own thing, and it really stands out. And I think this movie does that very well. One thing I noticed, when I saw the first film, that I wasn't too frightened by it. Like, it was more thrilling and good story. It's still a great film, but this one, especially during that prologue, when it started, it was like I was scared. Like, this is some scary shit.
Yeah.
And I think that was deliberate. I think Krasinski, toned that up a little more, and it worked because I was scared.
Yeah,
And I
my
on the
jaw
edge of
was
seat.
tense the
Yeah.
entire time, dude. I was like rigid.
Listen, I give credit to John Krasinski. He managed to make every single main character John McClane at Nagatomi Tower, walking around barefoot, bleeding,
Yeah.
and still going through action. No, but legit. I said it in the pizza place. I said it a little while ago. It is the absolute perfect sequel because it is not better than the first, and it doesn't try to top the first. It does everything that the first one didn't, and never touches on any of the things that made the first one successful. It gives you a completely different outlook on these characters, and it progresses them forward. You're not just getting, a lot of times, like I said, a lot of sequels, even the good ones, like a lot of sequels, they take what worked in the first one and they just copy and paste it to the second one and make it bigger. And this one never got bigger than the first one. the tension through it was fucking insane throughout the entire fucking movie. Like, so much goddamn tension from start to finish. But from the beginning of the film, it does everything that the first film didn't get to do, and doesn't do anything that the first film already did, with the exception of the plot devices that push the characters forward. Like, it is a masterclass in how to make the perfect sequel. And not only make the perfect sequel, but make the perfect sequel with paying attention to detail and not blowing your load.
Yeah.
And trying to top it. Just trying to continue a story. And it was gorgeous. Every part of it, the cinematography, that opening prologue, the first film, begins 89 days after the creatures start attacking. So you only pick up from there. And then it goes into day 472. And then you're just dealing with a father trying to deal with his children and trying to show them how to survive, and then also worrying about protecting them, and then a mother trying to take care of her children and support her husband while also trying to make sure her children understand that what their father is doing is the right thing and deal with a loss that they just had. And even in the end, you get a little bit of like, oh my God, like this is gonna happen, but there's not a lot of action. Like,
Yeah.
The hero, the protector, does one thing and one thing only. In the first film, he tries to take a swipe at the creature, gets his ass kicked, and then he sacrifices himself. That's it. And the end, Emily Blunt goes to kills the first one because they figure out that the last thing their father left them was the one thing that can stop them. Coincidentally. And then I couldn't even say that word. and then you see them kill one, but you never see what happens after. It ends right there. And this one does the exact opposite. It picks up with how everything happened, and it picks up hard and action-packed and strong, and does everything the first one didn't do in its opening act. And then it picks up right after, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah.
Picks up right fucking after she finishes killing all of them in that basement. So you never get the satisfaction of knowing what they did. Everything is always grounded. Mm-hmm. And throughout that movie, now it's them progressing. It's no longer the kind of drama surrounded by horror. It's now almost like a coming of age kind of tale where this family's going to find their way eventually. And then they run into Emmett, who to me is, with the exception of Reagan and Marcus, believe it or not, you can't even say that. All the characters are great.
Oh, yeah.
And, like
they've
every
all got
single
their own
one
arc.
of them
They've
is
all got
so well
their
written.
own thing. Like
there
is no supporting character. Mm-mm. These are all main characters. Yeah.
Every single one.
Which is incredible because it sounds like it's impossible to pull off, but fucking did it.
Yep, he did it. Like,
yeah. And what a good replacement for John Krasinski in the form of Cillian Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
I really think.
Yeah.
And I like how right off the bat, there's already some tension with him, and an argument ensues between him and the daughter Reagan, saying that you'll never be my dad, kind of telling the audience like, this is not a replacement for Lee. Sorry, yeah, I'll use characters.
Yeah,
it's not a replacement for Lee. So don't look for him. Don't look for that replacement because he's not. And don't look for.
And he does
this
things.
guy.
That story's closed. Yeah.
He's not a Lee 2.0. He's legitimately like a broken man who has a little more knowledge. You can tell of what they're up against. Like John had more of the Lee had more of the protection, kind of like surviving, getting around them.
Yeah,
knowledge.
He was valiant. He was
he was valiant because he had something to lose, and this guy has nothing to lose anymore.
Yeah.
So he's all just by himself. So he's the way he set up his warehouse to just kind of just be a trap, really. So it throws them off. Like you could tell he's about survival in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's about self-survival. But legit, like the standout thing is just the immense amount of attention to detail throughout the entire film.
Which I want to add this to because it just lightning struck my brain. I was thinking about this when we were watching it, and then I forgot about it, and then I was just reminded of it. Talking about the small details, right? The part where the creatures are, trying to get them, and they're on the boat, and then the one creature falls in the water, and the other one is on the boat, good. Right? I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, we found something out about these guys right now. That's cool. And I didn't care anything else about it. And then that moment, whenever Cillian Murphy goes to the beach and he looks at the picture and that was a great moment. That was a beautiful moment. That was very
Beautiful.
Yes.
It's a beautiful scene.
Yeah, just because like that character, just with his slouchy, sloppy posture, you know, like
He's
this guy
beaten.
probably is like a laborer of some sort, and he's
Yeah.
just like he looks beat down. He looks at the picture he drew of his son. The sun's coming up over the beach and stuff. And it's just fucking new start for him. And as soon as that new start happens, he hears this sound. And he hears something knocking, something weird, and he's like stalking around. At this point in the movie, I'm like, what the fuck's that sound, guys? What is it? Is it something in the tunnels? Is it one of those things? Is it like a cage full of babies that this people cannibalize? Is that what it is? No, it's the fucking boat from
The first boat
the first boat, the one that the
first boat.
one
drowned off of, and the other
but
one stayed on top.
Yep.
and it went all the way to the island.
Yep.
And I was just like, oh, that was worse than what I was afraid of happening.
You want to speak about detail? So I said this earlier, like his it's like a masterclass in how to write a script too, because even though there's not a lot of verbal dialogue, there's a lot of dialogue in the film, and not one fucking sentence was wasted. It never went above it, and it never went below it. It always had a purpose, and it made sense in the moment. They never overtalked. The attention to detail, like I said earlier, when like Reagan actually speaks knowing that she doesn't know how loud she can talk, to Emmett to tell him to enunciate so he can communicate with her better. Or then the scene where like Emmett says his whole big thing about how the people want to do the radio and everything for them to display the signal, and she turns his face because he forgot that she can't understand him if he's looking at him, and he just abbreviates it and says yes, like because it didn't need to be said all in full. The movie is all about not blowing its load and just keeping everything so insanely balanced that it's amazing to watch because it's a fucking feat. But the paying attention to detail, those really screwed up people on the dock,
Yeah.
where they're like, you don't know who they are, you don't know if they're cannibals. You don't. The movie never gives you anything past the scope of what the characters actually know.
Yeah.
So you don't know if they're cannibals or if they're just bad people or if they're just kidnapping children or what they're doing or they're just doing this to survive. Like, you don't know anything. But the greatest detail was when Emmett's in the water and the one monster gets on top and the other one goes after him in the water and drowns. The other one goes to jump and then sees the other one drowning and slips back because it realized, like, that's water. That's a detail that you don't get to see in the antagonist of a movie.
Yeah.
Like the villain, like the creature, actually showing you that, like, okay, there's a sense of intelligence here. Like, they're not just killing to kill. Like, this is just something else.
Yeah.
Like, that's just an insane detail. Like, with how, in the opening prologue, where, like, Lee sees how everybody's acting and they're constantly going after him, and he kind of picks up to just be quiet. Like, out of nowhere, he just picks up to be quiet, which is crazy.
Yeah, I like how they still, and I don't know if they ever will, if they make a third one or fourth, however long they're going for, they'll ever really explain what these things are, why they're there.
I kind of hope they don't.
I hope they don't either.
No.
Yeah.
I think it makes it that much scarier.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really need to know because as soon as you explain something, it takes the whole mystique and scariness.
And then
out of
again,
it.
he kind of did explain it, though, because in the prologue on this one, the first one, you had no idea what they are. You
Yeah.
thought maybe they were just on Earth or whatever. Like, obviously, they came from space. So, like,
Well, did
something
they? Or did they come from the explosion that the guy at the shop was talking about?
Well, and that's the other. Well, when they came out, you see that whole big fire crashing
yeah.
to the sky. So, like, he says it was an explosion or something, but it could have been that meteor hit and then those things freaking came, because obviously they came on something.
Maybe.
Like,
I don't know.
that's kind of what they were leaning
I don't
towards.
know. I think that it's gonna be one of those play on things where it's like, yeah, we can come up with any different scenario and just
Like,
whatever's gonna satisfy
the
you.
government made them, and then
Yeah.
they were all being transported somewhere in in airplanes, and they got out and attacked the fucking
Yeah. Who knows?
pilots and got out somehow. But or it could be like something like just random, right? Like just comets coming to Earth,
Yeah.
and they just lived on these comets. However, that's possible. But I mean, I don't know. It can be a million things, right? And that's what it's so cool about it, is that it's left to our own devices to figure out like what they are and why they're there.
Yeah, because their motivations are not made clear because they don't ever eat anyone. They just kill them.
Yeah, that's true, because
Yeah.
they did show that guy at the dock getting just like beat the
Yeah,
fuck
they
up,
just
pretty
like
much.
they just shred people. They don't. So these things wherever they came from are just here to party, I guess.
I think like
That's what it was saying.
I'm
here to party. Like it just doesn't know that you're killing. That it's killing.
That's
them.
how they
It's
party.
like, what? Oh, another one. Damn
Wow,
it.
these guys just can't party.
Oh, I heard another one.
Let's go party.
Let's go party.
to me it's such a beautiful movie in that genre. It's such a masterpiece because like I told you earlier, like the last thing you see in the last one is them figuring out their weapon, and then a lot of movies would just be like, oh, okay, now they got the weapon, they're just gonna go and kill shit and nothing like that,
weapon.
and they're just sitting there and they're
Put
just
a Morse
hunkering
code
up.
to the rest of the world.
Yeah, and then Morse code to the rest of the world, and everybody knows. No, realistically, they have no way of telling anybody fucking else.
Yeah.
And what are they gonna do? Are they gonna leave without the weapon? What's gonna happen? And they find an ingenious way to make it portable. And even when you see the scene where they use it against one, it took time. Like they were still under danger just because they had this thing. Like you see that it doesn't really stop them. It just throws them off a little bit, enough for you to get a blow in at some point. And like it even exacerbated in the train scene. And I told you before, like the thing I love about the way Krasinski directs this movie and wrote this whole script out is he never shows you a lot of things. He just leaves you guessing, like the scene with Emmett where she convinces him, to come with her because it's, if Lee had a chance to save us, he would. And if you had a chance, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. And he agrees. And then she wakes up in the morning, she doesn't have her Collier, and she's missing the amplifier. And you're like, oh shit. Like he just ran off with the shit, or he's doing it to get her to go back home. He lied. He's a snake.
Yeah.
And then she's crying and you don't hear anything, which is something else that we didn't talk about. The fact that he cuts the sound out so many times and just lets the visual do the work. Like she's deaf, you don't hear anything. And then he comes back and he drops it, insinuating one of two things. He either did try to leave with it and decided let's go, but his next sentence kind of contradicts that and says there's a boat down by the docks, meaning that he went and he took that thing and cleared the way for them to get there safely. He's more of the warrior survivor, whereas Lee was more of the protector survivor. And that's even exacerbated in the boat scene, in the dock scene, where that creepy fucking little girl like fucking just nooses him with a bunch of bells on a fishing net.
Yeah.
Were her eyes gone? Was she blind?
No, she had like her face was cut
She
off
had
or
like
something.
Okay.
Yeah, she had like
I couldn't tell. I don't know.
That's why I
and
kind of
shit.
thought they were cannibals. Like they like cut parts off of her face and ate it.
Yeah, they looked like they were like fucked. Like they were. That's what they were doing. And then like the way he self-sacrifices everything, like without a care, and it gets him out of the situation. Like he remembered to tell her to dive, something that he learned he learned a word in the beginning, and she did.
Yeah,
not the best. It wasn't a 10 out of 10. Phelps would be upset. Because she just kind of body splashed.
I don't know why. I knew exactly what was happening in that scene. Like whenever he did the gesture and signed the words for dive. And I was like, okay, cool. But I still I felt stupid after that scene because I expected her to actually dive like someone that had been training forever. And then I remembered that's the wrong movie. No, she just basically threw herself into the water. Yeah.
And then and the way he stabs the guy to get him to scream even more while he's still attached to him.
Yeah.
Is insane. All those little details is just nuts. And we were talking about this before, where we kind of stopped before we did this review, was the scene where she's getting into the radio station. Yeah. And she's tiptoeing over everything.
Oh, yeah.
And how tense that is, but it's such a ridiculous thing.
It's so funny and so edge of your seat, suspenseful at the same time.
It's insane. Yeah. And it's oh yeah, I've stepped on a piece of paper on the desk before. I've slipped. And then she almost hits the cabinet. And when she moves the cabinet, it made the classic squeak of those fucking steel cabinets. Yeah. It was just nuts. How well he mastercrafted their universe around them, and how much of the actual film is watching them do something really slowly.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a point there, yeah.
And you think this is boring to film. And on paper, you'd be like, this is boring as shit.
Yeah.
That's what I did today, honey.
Only Michael Bay would have produced this movie.
And, but almost
we gotta have one shotgun though.
Yeah,
there's no the two. And what I love is like I said, it does everything the first movie doesn't, but doesn't do anything the first movie did. So it doesn't follow the classic trope. It's a continuation. What do they do now? And what's brilliant is that even in the action beats, there's more action but there's more pacing between the action. Where yes, you have more beats, but you still have the pacing from the first. So it's like they're literally equal movies. You could watch either one on their own. And like hardcore, think both are amazing. Like one's not better than the other, which is such a refreshing breath of fresh air, like to have in this climate that we have, where we have sequels, and like one's bigger than the other, and bigger than the other, and bigger than the other, and then it flops like Godfather 3.
Fucking dick.
Yeah, I could say that this is The Quiet Place 1 and 2 and part 2 are like Godfather and Godfather part 2 of this genre.
They're just
in
like
terms of that and that
context, where they're
context,
both
yes.
equally good.
But I always have to pick one or the other, though. You know, even with the Godfather movies, I prefer the first one, even though they're both neck and neck, right? But I got to give it up to the first one, and then in this case, though, I got to give it up to the second one. I think the second one is a lot better.
I see them as
better
one
film.
big movie. First and second are just one gigantic movie, but one gigantic movie that actually doesn't just like do what the other movies that continue from where the first one left off. Like, it's the same thing but bigger, and like no, it's you still keep going.
Or like, hey, remember when this
This
happened?
entropy.
Oh, you remember, like we're bringing this back. Remember that in the first
Yeah.
film?
Yeah.
Remember what?
None
Let's
of
go to
that.
flashback to when he said that. Like, all right, this is
None
no
of that.
longer a movie. It's just like recapping.
This is
Yeah.
legit like a film, like start to finish. The whole thing is a progression in entropy of these characters, and what's beautiful is you see the development of them each. You see Evelyn be more brave in taking on that protector role, and then you see Reagan literally become the embodiment of Lee, and then you see Marcus finally, like in that last scene, which was so bone chilling, where he's just holding that freaking thing up.
Yeah.
Like in the first movie, the parents protected the children, and in this one, the children protect everyone.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy. Like that scene where he's just staring there, he just finally faces his fear, because Marcus was I don't, like we said before, I don't hate any of these characters because they're all main supporting cast. There's not one that's my least favorite. But Marcus was the annoying one. It's like, come on already. Like, come on. Everybody else is there and you're just behind. And it was done like that by design.
Yeah, even
like
the baby knows when to be quiet. God.
Yeah, exactly.
or just
and like,
put it in the box. You know, like here you go.
and even in its stupid moment, like where he just gets out of the fucking thing after his mother just told him to protect the baby and stay down there. He's got everything he needs and he can
Yeah.
be safe. He just fucking books it and starts walking around and screws up. And it's like, dude, like even in that moment, like you're like, why the fuck would you do that? It gave us that classic like why the fuck horror moment. But then it's like, oh my god, like it actually gave us some more insight into Emmett. It was purposeful. And it made sense. Okay, maybe he would leave for a minute.
Well, I think the whole
Just
thing,
to
him
see.
leaving for a minute, was like, you know, he didn't want to be down there in that place, and he didn't want to be without his mom and stuff. And his mom wants him to be brave, and so he said, "All right, I'm gonna be brave, and I'm gonna go out there and I'm
Yep.
gonna look." And it was just a stupid move.
Stupid move.
you know. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. It's so hard to talk about to review a movie when we all kind of agree, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like
It's just
like
a
we
fucking
just keep
masterpiece.
we just keep saying the same things over and over.
yeah,
again.
we're just basically
Yeah.
just
So-
jerking
which is
each
good.
other off at
Which
this
is a
point,
good.
yeah.
Which if people who are listening definitely go see this movie.
Yeah, it's
If you
so
if you
good.
like the first one, even if you didn't really like the first one,
Even if you didn't
go-
see the first one, you
go
don't even
see-
need to. Yeah,
Go see this one.
That's the mark of a good movie is that
Yeah.
it stands on its own.
yeah,
by
the mark of a good
itself.
sequel. Yeah,
It could have been just a loud place, and you'd been like, "What?" like,
yeah.
So on the
but wait, but there's one other thing I want.
okay.
I do want to hark on.
there's more.
There's one thing I do want to hark on.
yeah,
So our poor gladiator, what's his face? What's the guy's name?
What?
The actor?
oh man, I think I'm gonna butcher the Jaimin Hansu
Jaimin Hansu, I think is his name.
is a classic. He's a good character actor.
Oh, he was in
he's-
Gladiator.
He wasn't. Yes, he wasn't glad.
It wasn't glad. He was great, amazing.
Guardians of the Galaxy. He's also
Amazing,
in,
yeah.
oof.
A lot of
Blood
movies.
Diamond.
Blood Diamond,
Leonardo
Leonardo
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio. Yes.
So
That's right.
a really good actor.
Oh, this guy's been fucking everywhere.
Oh, he's great.
Okay,
He's a great
cool.
And-
actor.
Harks back to John Krasinski's amazing ability to pay attention to detail. And we talked about it in the pizza shop.
We
He
talked about
dies
Pizza
super
Shop.
fucking fast. Like he's dead. He dies quick, and
He's dead.
He's dead.
It's over.
And he dies
It's
in
done.
dies in such a goof way, right? Like you're like, what the fuck? But when you look back at it, it's absolutely perfect. So for those that haven't seen the movie and are just looking for spoilers, the whole point is that they find out that there's an island broadcasting a radio station, and they get to the island, and they find out that there's people that are living there since the beginning.
Yeah, and the monsters aren't anywhere near this
because they can't swim to the island. They can't get there because the monsters can't swim, so they drown, apparently. So these people haven't really faced them. And so when one gets on the island, what ends up happening is that guy what's his name again?
Jaimin
Hansu.
That's what I
I can't remember the character name, but Jaimin Hansu like gets Emmett in a car that they had that works.
Yeah.
And starts beeping the horn and doing like the brave thing, getting the monster to follow them to the radio station, because what they're going to do is they're going to broadcast that Collier signal that drives them nuts. And he gets there, and they lose the monster a little bit. And when he gets there, he's so worried that the monster went back. But Emmett is more worried about him giving him the fucking key to get into the radio station, right? Mm-hmm. And so you see him like second guessing and like, oh, I think we lost it. What if it went back? And you see Emmett knowing that they didn't lose it, that it's very close by.
Yeah.
And just give me the key now. Like there was no time to explain, but you see the difference between the main characters and how dealing with them, they know so much more, and how when they're more single task focused, as where someone who's not experienced them as badly as them makes a mistake. And yeah, he died fast, and it's like, oh fuck. But then it's like, it makes perfect sense.
He would.
Like, he would have, because he's not used to it. He doesn't know what to do. So, like, they're not surviving on the island fighting these things. They're surviving on the island avoiding these things. And it's brilliant. It's just so fucking beautiful.
On that note, I want to add something to that, because we keep talking about the attention to detail in this film. So, I think the general summary on this is that this is just a fucking detailed and detail-oriented film. They looked at everything and they were like, everything that you see on here is necessary. There's no more, there's no fluff. There's nothing superfluous. But with the detail-oriented part, and specifically this scene, the electronics around these creatures kind of fail in a weird way. Again, something that's not explained. I love that. And I did wonder about like, okay, well, what effect would that have on vehicles? And I was thinking about like, oh, you know, the car they drove away in was a fucking old ass car too.
Yeah.
It's not something new that's like completely dependent on a lot of electronics to run.
And the same thing with Evelyn's car was an Oldsmobile,
Station wagon,
and Lee's freaking Ford 80s Ford pickup truck. Like it's such a rich, for something that you don't see, you don't get any information outside of the scope of what the main characters know. And even then, they don't do anything in exposition. You just learn what they learn in the moment, and that's it. It gives you so much.
I know.
It's so fucking mind-boggling.
And they're short films. They just pack
it's only an hour and 30 minutes.
It's just a lot of content packed into a short period of time, paced perfectly.
Perfect pacing. Cinematography, perfect. Like, everything is beautiful. And, like, you actually feel like something accomplishes, and then goes against the grain. And probably the coolest scene is when the creature gets Emmett, and he's like against the radio the radio booth.
Yeah.
And Reagan comes out with the Collier, knowing that it still has something.
Yeah.
And kind of keeps the monster a little bit at bay, and flips the speaker switch.
Yeah.
So the speaker's inside, and then she goes back and just slams the Collier. And they tell you, because remember in the beginning, Emmett asks Evelyn, how does it work? And she says, they don't know. It just does. And then they show you by the Collier hanging on the magnet on the microphone that the magnet of the Collier makes the feedback. And that's what fucks them up. Without telling you in any exposition.
And that's the end of the movie.
And that's the end of the fucking movie. Like,
the last shot.
She kills it with a pole, showing you that without their armor, they're literally squish.
Oh yeah.
Because she just, I thought she was going to stab it.
Yeah.
She just baseball bats it,
Yeah,
and
and it
it's
went
dead.
in.
With something that's not actually meant to be a weapon. This is like a piece of
It's-
office
it's a-
equipment.
It's
Yeah.
no,
A
it's,
mic
it was
stand or
no,
something.
no, it was literally Schedule 40 cat electrical tubing.
Yeah.
like that you use to just run
Oh,
electrical
yeah,
wire.
yeah, okay.
She just grabbed it because the place was under construction.
Yeah.
so she just grabbed it and just whacked it, and it was dead. That's a 14-year-old girl just whacked no
Yeah.
strength, nothing. Beautiful,
Just
and then
inner strength.
inner strength, and then showing that the speaker
Yeah.
now that everybody has a weapon. So they do two things. They show that now people outside of that place have a weapon, and they also show you how just squishy these things are without what they have.
Yeah.
They're so terrifying, but they're not really.
Yeah.
And then how it works, which is the fucking magnet just hanging. Like, it wasn't what he did or anything like that. It's those, and that explains your whole, when they get close to things starts going goofy, lights and shit. Magnetism. It's so brilliant. I know. Science.
No, but there was just and in the all right. So in the trailers before the movie, they had Fast and Furious Saga, right?
God,
and
yeah.
they were using magnets in that, and it was just like they say, "Wow, man, we fucking with magnets and shit," and it's just like, so that's been on my mind. Magnets are a hobby of mine.
Yeah, how much more ridiculous
Man,
can those
fuck that
movies
Fast and
get?
Furious bullshit. That movie's so ridiculous. They should have just wrapped it up on one.
All right, so
anyway.
all right, ratings. What's on our scale? I would give this a 4.5. I would give the first movie a 4. I actually have to watch it again. I haven't seen it in a while. As of right now, it's a 4. Like the first film's a great film. This one, I'm gonna give it that extra half star. I think it's an amazing film. Definitely one of the best out there right now. Probably one of the best sequels I've ever seen. And I fucking loved it.
I give both of them 4.5. I know we're only reviewing one of them, but I just yeah.
But they got
Yeah, we're talking
go
about
hand
it.
in
It's
hand.
fine. Yeah. Both of them get 4.5 to me. They're both equal. Incredible replay value. I will definitely watch them both several times more throughout the course of my life.
I thought the first one was a 5, and I'm giving the second one a 5.
Wow.
Wow,
I think
man.
they are both equal, and they are both. I, as someone who, even the score, everything, someone who wants to be involved in film, aspire to do something like that.
If John Krasinski is out there listening, you
yeah.
and your team, Albert gives you 2 for 2, bud.
Yeah. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, keep it up.
Like, out fucking standing movie. Out fucking standing movie. Like, I can't say more.
Go see it. Go see it. Go to the movie theater and see it. Because you know what? John Krasinski thanks you in the beginning.
Yes,
for
before you
coming to
even-
see
yeah,
the movie.
Never fucking get from any director.
He will address you.
By name and address,
Yes.
which is a little off-putting.
It's just like E.T., the ride at Universal. You give your name up front, and he says, "Thank you, John. Thank you, blah, blah." And he fucks up the name, too, just like the E.T. animatronic did. But it's beautiful. It's fun. Go see it.
Go see it.
Go see it.
All right. What are we reviewing next week, fellas? Army of the Dead, right?
Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead, which has been out for a little bit.
We're kind of catching
but-
up.
Yeah, but I'm a fan of that shit.
Yeah,
That's
we
really a
gotta
nod
do
to Derek there.
Yeah.
That's because
That's a nod to what we're good at. Fucking with horror. All right, so that concludes our review of
A Quiet Place Part
Quiet
2.
Place Part 2.
Pot de.
We'd like to thank our producers,
Our producers, our makeup people,
Sound
sound,
tech,
sound,
our key grips,
key grip,
Yep, our
definitely key
editors.
grip, yeah.
the guy
the
that gets
payroll.
payroll, the guy that gets our coffees every fucking
Who's
morning.
the
marketing
dude
team.
that sets up the buffet?
Oh yeah,
There's a caterer.
me.
yeah,
Me.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
us.
It's us.
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 We
We'd
do
like
it
to
all.
thank us big time.
We get our own coffee. We're our own key grips.
We're only
Yeah.
we're our own key grips. So, all right. So if you like what you heard, please comment and subscribe. It keeps us going. It keeps us doing it. We're doing this not only for you, but because we love it. So if you love what the three dudes do, hit that little click button in the bottom right. Boop, boop. You should see a little pop-up popping up right about now. All right. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Please.